ArenaNet and Guild Wars 3 just released this gorgeous art of the goddess of nature and god of death. It inspired me, so I wanted to start a series looking into the gods of Or, their history, and their timelines leading up to Guild Wars 3. Today I want to focus on Melandru. Melandru is the goddess of nature, earth, and growth. She's described as the oldest and wisest of the 6 gods, and she often associated with life, rejuvenation, and the natural world. There's a beautiful description written on her statue. In the presence of Melandru, I felt my weariness wash away, as if rejuvenated by the sweet embrace of spring. Wherever she walked, the sun shone, and truly, I felt the beauty of life. Melandru was also closely associated with Dwayna, and the two attempted to bring peace between the various races of Tyria, but Melandru's story begins much further back. According to the Orion history scrolls, Melandru was the 3rd god to arrive through the mists. The mists are essentially the primordial reality that exists between worlds. They're the fabric of time and space connecting the multiverse together. Everything that has existed exists now, or will exist, is made from the mists. They were drawn to the magic of Or, specifically the artesian waters found at the heart of Or. The gods would eventually help establish the first widely known thriving human civilization in the region, but there's an important distinction here. Humanity wasn't the first civilization in Tyria. There were already native races and civilizations living across the world, and humanity's expansion often came at their expense. And this is the part of Tyrian history that fascinates me, because Guild Wars 3 is taking us back to a time before the Elder Dragons. We're heading to see the world before so much of the history we're familiar with has already happened, and Melandru is connected to one of the most interesting parts of that history. In a recent Guild Wars 3 update, Aaron Lynn shared more on the history of Or. In Guild Wars 3, players will take up the banner of the Vaelwardens, protectors of the magical spirits and magical wilds of Or. The Order of the Veil was the first guild ever charted in Or. Its origins trace back to the earliest days of humanity's arrival in the region, but then catastrophe struck. Something caused a deep and lasting wound in Or's magical ecology. The people devoted to protecting the Veil went to the human gods, hoping to prevent further destruction, and they found unexpected allies in Melandru and Dwayna. The 2 goddesses were moved by the suffering of the Veil and sanctioned the creation of an order dedicated to protecting them. And then they gave the fledgling guild something incredibly important: the ability to create and refine signets. This was a massive movement in Tyria's history. Magic had previously been held exclusively by the gods and Tyria's eldered species. The Vaelwardens were the first mortals to receive this kind of power. The Vaelwardens established themselves in eastern Tugra Basin and began a vigil over the Veil that would last more than 150 years by the time Guild Wars 3 begins. But while they were protecting the Veil, Or was changing. People from across Tyria began arriving, drawn by the incredible amount of magical energy in the region. Magic saturated the land, it crystallized in the soil, it condensed in the flora, and it created valuable resources that could be harvested and exploited. As more guilds gained access to signet manufacturing, signets became a commodity. They were bought, sold, stolen, and trafficked through black markets across Tyria. And this is where I think Melandru's story becomes particularly interesting. Because Melandru represents nature, life, and growth, yet the land she helped cultivated is increasingly being treated as something to exploit. And while all of this is happening, the Vaelwardens are failing. The Veil suffer wound after wound. Several of their elders and ancients die, their numbers decline, and the order becomes increasingly isolated. Meanwhile, the human gods become increasingly distant from the affairs of Or. They're dealing with larger matters in their high city of Ara. Even their meetings with the guilds of Or become less frequent. And while Melandru and Dwayna strongly supported the creation of Vaelwardens, their concern for the Veil wasn't universally shared by the Pantheon. Eventually, the Vaelwardens are pushed to the margins. And that's where we find them when Guild Wars 3 begins. They're seen by many Orions as aloof zealots clinging to a cause that died decades ago.
Around here, he's known as Strider.
Because there are other people in Or who believe the magical wilderness should be developed, exploited, used to create a better future, and one of their biggest rivals is the Mavenrites, a guild of industrialists who believe their magical wilds are meant to be exploited. To them, this isn't destruction, it's opportunity, it's their birthright. And suddenly, Guild Wars 3 has a really interesting conflict at its core: nature versus progress. Where does Melandru fit? I'm excited to see where she is in the story, if she interacts with you, or if you're simply there and you interact with her followers like the druids. Does she regret her decision of giving mortals magic? There was no magic before, it was only for the gods, but now mortals treat it as a commodity. And did they bring their own destruction because of it? we're going to live through it in Guild Wars 3, and somewhere in the middle of it, we're going to run into Melandru, the goddess who cared enough about the Veiled to help create the Vaelwardens in the first place. I'm really excited to learn more about the history of Guild Wars leading up to Guild Wars 3. If you enjoyed this deep dive on the gods, I'm going to continue this series, so hit that like and subscribe button, and maybe suggest which god I should do next. Maybe it's the god of death. I'll see you in the next video.